My name is Matt Rosu. I'm Dean of the Sigmund Weis School of Business at Susquehanna University. Thank you to everybody who is tuning in this evening for the first talk in our Sigmund Weis School of Business virtual speaker series in fall 2019. The goal of this series, as everybody knows, COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on a lot of things. Thankfully, we are back on campus. I think our students have been fantastic in terms of kind of seeing them wearing masks everywhere and abiding by social distancing guidelines and all of that. So far, we are COVID free, and I'm optimistic that that will hold. But one thing we are doing is we're restricting guests because large gatherings are, as we know, a way that they can pose a public health risk. But we're thrilled that we have over 25 presentations throughout the semester designed to help educate students, prospective students, alumni, and friends. And we have some of all of these individuals here today. So thank you so much to everybody who's attending. Also want to do a special welcome to K-12 teachers. The K-12 teachers who are here, you can earn Act 48 credits. And I am putting a comment in the Zoom chat. Hopefully you can see that. If not, please put a comment in the question and answer, and I will respond to that. With information on how to get the Act 48 credit. Before we begin, really we're honored that we have President Jonathan Green with us today, and just he was going to say a brief couple of words. President Green, the floor is yours.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for giving me a chance to say hello. And Jamie, thank you for being our inaugural speaker in this series. I want to thank Matt for all the work he's done to put this together. And he and I are contractually obligated to brag about the Sigmund Weis School of Business. But truly, I defy anyone to identify an undergraduate business program anywhere in this country that's as good as this program. And I think for those of you who are going to join us in all 25 plus presentations over the semester, we're going to see evidence over and over again about how true that is. So once again, Jamie, thanks for being here. Matt, thanks for putting together such a great series, and we're looking forward to learning a little bit more about what you do, Jamie.
Thank you. Dean Rosu, you might be on mute.
I was on mute. Thank you. It's a very kind way to say that I was on mute. But thank you very much to President Green. As I was stumbling through figuring out how to get him onto the screen and off of the screen. And I certainly know I speak for everybody in the Sigmund Weis School of Business. We are just thrilled by the support of the university as a whole. And for those who are prospective students, it's a special place because you get the combination of both the top business education along with the fantastic liberal arts education, like what Jamie received, and President Green did a nice segue into the introduction that I'll give. There's a full bio that's been presented to everybody who's received the invite, so I won't go through the full bio. But Jamie is currently the North America Internal Controls Manager and Global Delegation of Authority Process Owner at Corteva Agriscience. I think I got that right. So that's located in Wilmington, Delaware. Corteva is one of the companies resulting from the Dow-DuPont merger and divestiture, and is a global agriculture science company who reported $13.8 billion in revenue and ranked 234 in the Fortune 500 last year. Before joining Corteva, Jamie was the global SOX internal auditor at DuPont and an international internal auditor at Dentsply Sirona. The other point on the bio that I would like to point out, because I think it's fascinating, is in 2016, she founded her own business, Team Positively Healthy, whose mission is to empower people and lead positive and healthy lives. I just think it's really cool, and I'm going to be asking about this if nobody else does, about the combination of that and kind of the career as a CPA and kind of how they don't have to be mutually exclusive. She's as she wrote in the bio, she's passionate about her family and friends, being positive and healthy, rugby, community service, and personal and leadership development. And without further ado, Jamie Hindman on career tips for aspiring CPAs. And for those who are watching, please feel free to ask questions in the question and answer portion in the Q&A, and we will get to those towards the end of the talk. So, Jamie.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for Dean Rosu and everyone for being here and having me. I am excited and humbled to be a part of this. Susquehanna has a special place in my heart, and I love connecting with students and professors and anyone who supports Susquehanna. So it's my pleasure to be here today. And so hopefully I can share some tips with you that you would find helpful. And so I put together a presentation of some slides to help me facilitate and share some stories. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so I think everybody can see my screen. Okay, awesome, very good. And I thought it'd be fun. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Slido before, but Slido is a cool app, or cool website, if you will, that you can go to, and I can actually post poll questions or multiple choice questions, and then you as the participants can answer them. And as an incentive to participate, we actually have some really great prizes. And so we will be giving away 3 grand prizes. Everyone, all top 3 winners will receive a Susquehanna SWSB t-shirt that Dean Rosu is holding up right now. In addition to that, you will receive an SU mask, which will be the latest fashion of the season. And then the person who wins the top prize, or who gets the most questions right in the fastest time, will actually also get a one-on-one goal setting and mentoring session with me. And so that'll be part of the grand prize as well. So it should be pretty easy. You just go to the slido.com website, and then you'll need an event code. And the event code for tonight is SU CPA. And I could actually see over here on my other screen when people start to join. And so I'm going to activate the quiz. And while people log into that, the other option of doing that is taking a picture with your phone of this barcode here. And so I see everybody starting to log in, so that is fantastic. So while you log in and create your participant ID, I will just share a little bit about what we'll cover tonight. So I'll go over a brief introduction. I know Dean Rosu shared a lot about me, which is great, and so we won't spend a lot of time there. We will talk about the CPA exam, some tips on what I have found helpful to help hopefully you pass your exam, how to find a job, and this will be geared towards how to find your first job, but you could really use this throughout your career. Then the next topic we will discuss will be how to progress in your career. And then we'll save plenty of time for questions and answers. And feel free to use the Q&A chat as Dean Rosu had said. Okay. All right, so question 1, I'm going to launch the quiz. So I have 2 screens here, so that's why I keep looking over here. And so, okay. And so you'll have to keep in mind, I am the one who created this quiz, and so I may or may not be biased here. So the first question is, which school is the best school in the world? And so I'll give it a couple of minutes. I see that 30 people have responded. So we'll just give it another second or 2, and then I will close this question and share the results. Okay. And it looks like everyone who voted did, in fact, get the right answer. So I can see that everybody voted for Susquehanna University, so congratulations. And now this leaderboard is pretty cool because you can see who answered. And so this is going to get tricky because you could see that these 5 people all answered the correct question in 4 seconds. And so it's a tie so far. So that's how it works. So it'll be good. So there's we'll all get to the next question as we progress, but that's how that works. So I'm excited that I see 30 people in there already. Feel free to join if you haven't already. Okay, so we covered a lot of this. I am originally from the Scranton, Pennsylvania area. If anyone's from NEPA, I always find a lot of people from that area at Susquehanna, which is always exciting. After graduating from Susquehanna in 2009, I moved to the Harrisburg area, which I loved. And now my husband and I live in Wilmington, Delaware. As Dean Rosu said, I was an accounting major, and I actually minored in HR management and graduated with honors. When I studied at Susquehanna, I was a part of Greek life, rugby, cheerleading. I was one of the student representatives to the board of trustees and participated in a ton of different clubs, and all of those experiences just really made my experience at Susquehanna so enjoyable. I met an incredible group of people in every single organization I joined, and just couldn't speak more to Susquehanna's vast differences in clubs that you can join. So I was able to do rugby and cheerleading and Greek life and the accounting club, and it was just a really great experience. And I was thrilled to learn about the GO program when the school started the GO program and really encouraged and required people to take in an experience outside of their comfort zone, particularly because I had such an amazing experience in London when I studied abroad there. And now as an alumni, I am actually privileged and honored to be able to be serving as the second vice president to Susquehanna University's alumni board, which again is, as you would imagine, a fantastic group of people to support students and alumni. I also help out with the Sigma Kappa organization, and I saw Hannah, one of the VPFs of Sigma Kappa, is on tonight, so that's exciting. And I also love the breakthrough event and try to participate in all of those events as well. So as far as a career path, we talked a little bit about where I started and where I moved around to. So I did start in public accounting and then entered the corporate world. Dean Rosu talked about Team Positively Healthy, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a little bit. I also was able to found and start an organization called Pass Now, which is a CPA program, which we'll talk about. I am a certified public accountant. I had a cool experience being able to do a work exchange in Australia. I have some international audit and management experience. I love the beach, figuring out how to be healthy, finding new Netflix shows. So if anybody has any tips on that, send them my way. And then I love personal development as well. And so this book up here, The Go-Giver, that is probably my favorite book, and it's an easy read, but I just have gotten so much out of it. I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking for a good book. Okay, so enough about me. Let's go to Slido question number 2. So what does CPA stand for? Let me launch the poll here. Okay. Is it used to describe a cool, passionate, amazing person, certified public accountant, or can't pass again? See everybody's voting. Very good, very good. Okay. I see most people have submitted their results. And so we are right. Everybody did a great job again. Certified public accountant. Okay. Megan's in the lead. Emily's right behind her, and Mackenzie is too. So we're doing good. All right. So, this life-changing piece of paper. Who knew that one piece of paper could change your life? And I actually own 2 pieces of paper that changed my life. My Susquehanna University degree, and then my certified public accounting license. So let me tell you a little bit about this piece of paper. When I graduated from Susquehanna University, I spent the summer working, and then I started work in the fall after I graduated. I actually had my job before I even started my senior year, which was really great and took a lot of stress off me for the senior year. But so I started work my fall of my senior year, and I waited a little bit to get my certified public accounting license because I really wanted to spend a lot of time at work and learning and spending time working because I loved it. The firm that I worked for was just a great place, very similar to Susquehanna, where there were a lot of opportunities to get involved. And I really chose to do that. And so then when it was time that I needed to get my certified public accounting license, I started studying and taking my exam, but I refused to believe that I really had to spend a significant amount of time studying. I don't know why, but I thought that I could just study a little bit and pass. That was not the case. So I took the exam and I didn't pass. For anybody who doesn't know, for the CPA exam, there's 4 individual exams that you have to pass in order to get your license. So I started studying, didn't pass, refused to believe that I had to spend a lot of time studying. Shame on me. But then I really took a step back and said, Jamie, you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. So you really need to figure out what works for you. And so I really reflected on when was I most successful in my past. And I've actually came to an experience that I had at Susquehanna when I had a leadership position where people were counting on me and people were looking to me to set the example. And when I looked at that experience, I knew that a couple of the things that really drove me and motivated me was setting an example and being held accountable. And so with my CPA license, I applied that same logic and used that same model to pass my CPA exam. And so what I did at the public accounting firm was I created an organization called Pass Now CPA program, where I organized a basically study buddy program where every week we would meet, myself and a group of other people who were studying for the CPA exam, because you'll never fall short or be missing people to study with, because at a CPA firm, there's always going to be people who are studying for it. So we came together, started a study buddy program where every week we would meet, report in how much we would be studying over the next week, and then the following week we would report in. And you better believe that we made sure that we held each other accountable, because I did not want to show up, especially as the leader of this group, to show up and to not have studied the amount of hours that I said I was going to study. So it really held me accountable. I studied, everybody else studied. The partners at the firm even gave us a little fund to be able to host happy hours when people passed, prizes, trophies, food for our study sessions, which was really great. And wouldn't you know, it was amazing. We started passing one exam together. We started passing another exam together. The 3rd exam we passed. And then the 4th exam I passed, I got a 93. It was insane. And I was so excited and proud of this group of people who have come together to study and to support each other. And it really just helped me understand what makes me succeed. How do I work? And everybody's different. And so I wanted to share that story to let you know that if you go to sit for your CPA exam and you don't pass right away, think about what works best for you. Think about how have you succeeded in the past. Maybe think about a time that you had at Susquehanna where you struggled and then you overcame that, because you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So some tips that might help pass your CPA exam is I really strongly encourage you to take it as soon as possible after you graduate. So if you think about when you were in middle school, think about what you had going on in your life. Maybe you were in a couple sports or clubs. You were probably maybe busy. When you went to high school, you were probably busier than you were in middle school, because now you probably had your license, you could drive, you had a social life, maybe you were in sports. And now think of where you are today in college. You're probably busier than you were in high school and middle school. So my point is, you will continuously get busier in life, because the great thing about getting older is that you have more and more freedom to choose what you do and what you do with your time, which usually means you fill it up with things that you love to do. And studying for the CPA exam while very beneficial, may not be something that you really want to do. And so I strongly suggest you to start your exam, start studying for your exam as soon as you graduate, which I would also recommend plan out the details before you even graduate. Plan out when you're going to take the test. How many parts are you going to take before you start your job? How many hours do you think that you need to study? Plan it all out. And a lot of times with the accounting programs, what I've seen happen, and everybody's different, every start date is different, but I see a lot of people graduate in May and then they don't start their full-time job until September. And so you really have about 2, 3, or 4 months before you start your job, which sounds like a really great time to relax and go on vacation and hang out with your friends and sleep, which it is, but it's also a really great time to study and to take your exams, so this way you don't have to worry about it ever again. And the exams and study materials, there's a cost associated with it, and most public accounting firms do reimburse you for the study materials. Sometimes you have to start before they will reimburse you. Sometimes you can work something out, but just to know, if you have a concern about the cost, please talk to your employer as needed, because they really want to encourage you and see you succeed, and so they will likely help you however they can. And this next bullet point is really, at this point in your life, you've probably been studying for one exam, whether it was in kindergarten with your ABCs or in your, what I'll call business awareness, or that freshman year class that you probably had at Susquehanna, where you were studying for some sort of exam. You know yourself better than anyone, so use that to your advantage and use what works for you to study. And so if you study better in a group, do that. If you study better on your own, you can do that too, but use that to your advantage. And this last one, don't underestimate the exam like I did at first. And so taking those extra classes at Susquehanna, I know that there used to be like a nonprofit accounting class senior year or a government accounting senior year. Those classes will really help you understand the materials and the knowledge that you'll need to take the exam. So if possible, I would advise to take those, because that will only help you with your CPA. Okay. And just do it. As Nike said, just do it. Do it once, get it done, and then you'll have it for the rest of your life. Okay. So, question 3. When was Susquehanna University founded? Let me launch this. Okay. So was it? So don't pay attention to the slide here. Pay attention to the numbers on your screen. All right, do we have 1776, 1858, 1958? 23 people and rising. See what we get. Pretty good. All right, I'm going to close it in 3, 2, 1. All right, so the right answer was 1858. Some people said 1958, but it was 1858. No one said 1776, so that's good. So leaderboard, Mackenzie, Emily, and Megan. Oh, Matt R is not far behind, catching up. All right. Good work. Okay, so how to find a job, how to decide. I remember being a senior. I remember being at Susquehanna and not knowing what I wanted to do after graduation. Sure, I was going to have an accounting degree and I can get a bunch of different accounting jobs. But did I want to go work for a Big Four company? Did I want to go work for a regional public accounting firm, a smaller firm, go right into corporate? What did I want to do? And so you really have a lot of choices, especially if you graduate from Susquehanna, from the business school. So I have 2 pieces of advice here. One, to really think about what you might want to do, and think about how you can test that out. So for example, a lot of companies have externships, which is like a mini internship program. A lot of companies have internships, some paid and some unpaid, and others have social events that they use to try to meet potential candidates for future jobs. And so I highly encourage you that if you're not sure where or what you want to do, try to go to each of these firms and participate in one of their events. So something that, for example, if you're not sure if you want to go with a Big Four international public accounting firm or a regional firm, I highly recommend you to participate in an externship with both, because the externships are usually a few days throughout the summer, and that will really give you a good feel for the type of environment that's there. You'll get to meet people where you could really ask some great questions, and just gives you a good opportunity to get to know people and get to ask those types of questions. The other way to decide is really to think about what works, again, what works for you? What kind of environment do you thrive in? And you can also ask a lot of your friends. And so by the time you graduate at Susquehanna, you will know 1, 2, or 3 classes that had graduated before you of seniors that were in the accounting program that you can probably Facebook message. And I'm sure, and I don't know if you guys use Facebook, I still use Facebook, Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, but message people who graduated and say, hey, how do you like your job? Between A and B, tell me about it. And the benefit there is that they will be able to tell you all of the details. I remember doing this my senior year and saying, I don't know what I want to do. Tell me what it's really like. And people did. And it was really great advice because it was from people who were already working, who had the advice, who remembered where I was and what it felt like, because they were just in my shoes a few years ago. So how to get your foot in the door. Again, those social events, meeting people at externships or internships are really great ways. Networking with people, especially those seniors or juniors that you might have known through Susquehanna. One of my favorite things about Susquehanna, I have many, but one of them is the fact that we are a smaller university. We are small, but we are mighty, and we are passionate. Susquehanna University alumni are passionate about helping each other, way more than I've seen larger schools who their alumni sometimes get lost in the shuffle. At Susquehanna, I will go out of my way to help people from Susquehanna, and I'm not alone. I know the other alumni are like that as well. So don't be afraid to reach out to somebody on LinkedIn. They will be so excited to get that request. Now, this next point is about people wanting to work with people they know, like, and trust. And so think about if you were to build a project, if you had to do a project for school, for your accounting class, and you got to pick the 3 other people who you got to work with. You would probably pick people that you knew, you'd probably pick people that you like and that you want to be around, and people that you would trust who would actually do the work and who would do it well. And it's the same thing with work. People want to work with other people they know, like, and trust. And so making friends and networking, and even when you're at work, using your soft skills to make friends in a professional way is very important. So this is a picture when I worked in public accounting. All of these people I worked with, we went to a wine tasting event. It was a lot of fun and just a really great way for us to get to know each other. And now when you are looking for a job, on to the next point, think about how you can help the firm. What do you bring to the table that's different than anyone else? And you do have something different and special about you than anyone else does. Think about what experiences have you had at school. Think about how much of a hard worker you are, how you can think about problems and come up with solutions that maybe others couldn't come up with based on your experience. Think about how you can help the company, because they are really looking for somebody to do the work, do it well, to contribute, and to really be a valuable team member. So think about that when you're talking with people in the interview or in any sort of networking situation. again, we talked about networking and making friends, and I always strongly believe to always have a mentor. It could either be a formal mentor or an informal mentor or your boss, but finding somebody where you work to be able to ask those silly questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question or a silly question, but I know for me, I have felt silly asking some questions. And when I've had a mentor or had people I can go to say, I should probably know this, but can we just talk about this? It's so helpful. And so I really always encourage this. To me, the way I think about mentors are people who truly want to help other people succeed, and they're cheerleaders, really. They could be your number one cheerleader, cheering you on. And then the last point is just cleaning up your social media and using it to your advantage. So we have our resumes. Everybody has to send a resume to get a job if you're applying in that manner. There's also the cover letter, which is a really, an additional opportunity to tell your future employer something about yourself that you couldn't tell it properly in your resume. So your social media, you can actually use it to your advantage. If you want your potential employer to know something about you, you can make sure your social media displays that, whether that's LinkedIn or Facebook. And so if you want them to know that you are really into doing community service, or you work with the same organization that they support, that's something that you can share on your LinkedIn and highlight on your Facebook or whatever platform you use. You can use that to your advantage because your future employer will probably Google your name and look to see what's out there. And so you can use it to your advantage. You also want to make sure that there's only appropriate things there. But it's just an extra way that you can highlight something that they might not have otherwise known. Okay, so Slido question number 4. Which social media platform do you need to make sure is appropriate or professional? All platforms, none, because what you do on your own time doesn't really matter. LinkedIn, Instagram, and I think this kind of goes back also that people want to know, how will you represent their company that they pour their heart and soul into? How do they know if you'll fit in, if you'll get along with everybody? Okay, so I see some people have responded. I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so all platforms, great. So everybody got that right? Very good. Emily's taking the lead. All right, good. Only one more question, so we have Emily, Mackenzie, Megan, Hannah, Sarah. Okay, very good. All right, so one of the biggest things that if you take anything away from today, always ask for what you want. You are in charge of your life. You are in charge of your career. You can make anything happen. I truly believe that. It's always important to ask for what you want. So let me tell you a story. So there are some pictures of Australia here, Australia type things here. And so when I interned for McConley and Asbury, when I was at Susquehanna, the partner of the firm sent out an email saying, hey, who would like to do an international work exchange program in Australia? So I was an intern. And so I responded, I said, I do. I said, I'm not sure if you're looking for an intern or not, but if you are, I'm happy to go. And so he said, no, I'm not looking for an intern to go. So no, so I didn't go at that time. So then fast forward, when I started working at this public accounting firm full-time, because I had an externship with them that led to an internship that led to a full-time job, 2 years, I think it was 2 or 3 years into my full-time job, he asked the same question. Who wants to go to Australia for an international work exchange program? And I said, I did. And so I told him about, I said yes. And of course, at that time, there were a lot of other people who also really wanted to go. And so what I did is I went to all of my mentors. I went to my boss. I went to all my friends. I said, give me some advice. Is there anything I can do? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think I'd be a good fit? I'm really interested in this because of A, B, and C. And I truly believe that they advocated for me to go. They were my number one cheerleaders, saying Jamie would be great to be able to go. And I went. So they said, yes, Jamie, you can go to Australia. You can pursue this work exchange trip. So I was able to go. And so this is a picture at a footy game, which is a sport. This is a cheesy picture of me scuba diving, the Great Barrier Reef, in the Daintree Forest down here. And so if I didn't ask for what I wanted, I would not have been able to go. So always ask for what you want. So moving on to this one, progressing in your career, how to ask questions in the right way. So again, something that I didn't appreciate until recently was that all questions are fair questions when asked in the right light. So think about a question that you might have. So if you have a question, if you walk into your first day on the job and you have no idea what you're doing or feel like that, I bet you that you will actually know what you're doing. But if you feel like you don't and you have a lot of questions, that is completely normal and a-okay. Ask the questions, but think about how you want to phrase those questions. So for example, if I went to my boss and said, I have no idea how to do this. Can you do this for me? Well, that's probably not the right way to ask the question. I would recommend maybe saying, listen, I've thought about this. I've been given this to do. I think I need to do it like A, B, and C because of X, Y, and Z. I just wanted to make sure that this was the right way to do it, or if you would recommend something different. You'll still get the same answer. They'll help you, tell you what you need to do, but now they know that you care about your job. You've thought about how to do it. They know that you thought about, what could the answer possibly be? And even if I proposed something that was far from the right answer, I at least showed that I thought through it. And my boss would be thrilled that I thought through it and came with a potential solution, even if it was wrong. When you do start your career, think about whether it's, when is it time to stick it out or make a change? And think about what you want long-term. If you want to grow and have a variety of different roles to get to an end goal, you might need or want a variety of different jobs or roles within one company. Or if you want to stay in the same job for the rest of your life, that is absolutely okay too. But think about whenever you're in a role or a job, think about whether you are progressing and getting the opportunities that you need to meet your future goals. So whether that's staying put or making a change. And those mentors are really great people to ask about and get advice in this area. And so this next one, consider starting a side hustle. So one of the amazing things about being a CPA and specifically going into audit or tax is you learn all about other people's businesses. And so as an auditor, your job is to go and understand the different processes and how other businesses work. And so you get business experience from learning about different businesses. And so when I was at so I started in public accounting, loved it, loved the firm I was with, got to a point where I was ready for something new. So had that hard conversation and figured out that I was ready for something new. And then I went to a different firm, a different company. It was great experience, but I knew I needed something more. I needed something to really pour into. The opportunity that I took advantage of had a lot of international experiences, which was great, got me into the corporate world, which I learned a ton from, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity for creativity, mentoring, training, leadership type of things. And so I really missed that. And so I started Team Positively Healthy. And so it was a hobby of mine. I was actually getting ready for my wedding. I was getting ready to get married that year. I personally have always been more of an athlete, but always kind of struggled with my own health and fitness. And so I took the skills that I learned with Past Now of really needing and wanting accountability, leading a group of people, and wanting to see my own results, and also wanting to help and motivate and pour into other people to help them with their own goals. Used all of that, created Team Positively Healthy, and was able to help hundreds of people lose weight, get healthy, gain their confidence, get strong. I myself was able to lose 100 pounds and do all of this while cheering people on. And that just sets my soul on fire. It really does. And so it was great that I was able to do this using the skills that I had as a CPA in my spare time. And so you always have the opportunity to start a side hustle, no matter whether that's selling clothes on Poshmark or Amazon or creating ebooks, whatever you're passionate about, you can create a hobby or a side hustle from that. So this next point is just consider different jobs. We've talked a little bit about this. Think long term. If you want to be the president of a company one day, you probably need to go into different roles to get there. And so that's okay. And so when you think about your next step or your next couple steps, you can think about that as well. Because if you start in accounting, you really have the foundation to move around to a number of different roles. So this next one, think long-term and short-term. Again, what do you want out of your next job or position? So for example, today, I kind of wear two hats where I work now. I am basically in charge of making sure there's all of those checks and balances in place as internal controls. So making sure that people can't write checks to themselves and things like that. And the other job is making sure that we have a process in place to know who can approve certain transactions. And so that's really great where I am at now, and I'm loving what I'm learning. But I think my next role, I really want to help and manage a team of people. And so I think that will be helpful. And then I think my next job, I want it to be more technical or more technically based. And so I want to get those skills from those jobs. And so my next job, I'm not necessarily saying I want like these 10 things, but I really want to focus on this one thing. So that could be an option for you depending on what you want to do and where you ultimately want to go. But the choice is really yours, especially if you have your CPA. Okay, the last question. Who needs to be your biggest advocate? Your boss, your best friend, your mentor, or you? Okay. You have just another minute. Close it in 3. I see 27 people have voted. 2, 1. You need to be your biggest advocate. There are ways you can present yourself and remind people of all the great work that you've done in a tactful and humble way, but you have to fight for what you want. Nobody will ever take your career as seriously and fight for you as hard as you can and will. That's not to say that you won't have a team of mentors or cheerleaders in your corner. I will always be in your corner, but you need to cheer for yourself and be your best advocate as well. Okay, so I'm going to show the leaderboard. Yeah. The winner is Emily. And then Mackenzie came in second, and Megan, Hannah, Kyle. Congratulations. Congratulations. Very good. Very, very good. All right. So then just to wrap it up, I really, really want everybody to know that you can do whatever you want to do. Your limitation is only what your imagination limits you to. if you go to Susquehanna and graduate from Susquehanna, if you get your certified public accounting license, you have the power to choose and design your own life, because you will have the foundation to build your business and to be able to do whatever it is you want to do. Whether that's becoming a CPA, whether that's becoming a partner at a firm, whether that is becoming the CEO, or whether that is having a really good job that you are happy about and staying in that job and being an expert in that. You get to choose, and that is the point. And so I'm excited for all of you who are at Susquehanna and who are thinking about going to Susquehanna, because I really believe that your education and the experiences that you will get at Susquehanna will set you up for the rest of your life and will enable you to be able to be your own boss of your life. Very excited for you all. So with that, I think, Dean Razu, if we want to open it up for any questions anyone might have, I'm happy to answer any.
That would be great. First, one of the bad things, that was spectacular. Thank you so much. One of the bad things about having this in this format is we don't get to see everybody giving me round of applause, but I'm sure behind the computer screens, everybody's applauding. That was wonderful. A big thank you, Jamie, for taking time to be the lead off speaker of this speaker series. To those who are attending, if the rest of the talks are anything like this, we are in for just a fantastic semester. So it was a wonderful way to start us off. We do have a couple of questions that have come in, and for those who have been too shy to ask so far, please feel free to enter into the Q&A. And also for the top three, please send me an email with your shirt size, and I put my email address into the chat so I can email you the shirt, the mask. It's one size fits all. I hope it fits. So. But the first question by Hannah O'Hara, is there a different CPA license for each state?
There is. So each CPA license, that's a great question, Hannah. Thank you for asking. For each state, there is a different license. There's a different exam to take. And so usually where that really becomes important is if you want to, one of the ways it becomes particularly important to get the CPA in a certain state is if you want to become a partner at a certified public accounting firm, able to sign the audit reports that go out. That is really when you need to be licensed in that specific state. But for example, my license is in Pennsylvania and work in Delaware, and it's not a problem at all. Nobody cares that my license is that I'm licensed in Pennsylvania. The exam, I believe the exam is basically, I'll say, the same in each state. It's not like one state is harder or easier than the others, but it's just governed and managed differently state to state.
Thank you. A question by an anonymous attendee asks, what would you say makes a social media account appropriate?
That's a great question. That is a really good question. And so I would say things. It is a social platform, and so it's meant to be social with you and your friends. And so you just want it to be representative of who you are, and you want to make sure that if your future employer were to see it, that they would not, how do I say it? I almost think like my parents, I wouldn't put anything on social media that I wouldn't want my parents to see. And especially with the internet nowadays, I feel like I'm very careful about what I post. And so I would say profanity, I would avoid any kind of inappropriate pictures, any kind of questionable memes or things like that. Like even if they're just meant for joking, I would really advise against it because it can get really tough and perceived in a negative light, even if you didn't think about that. And so there are ways to avoid that, but I just really recommend to really think about what people put out there. But that's
We've had former students have job offers rescinded because of posting inappropriate content. There should be no red Solo cups on your social media account. That would be, I mean, like, you're trying to look for some standards here, and it's not to say that the people hiring you didn't want to have a red Solo cup, but you can't find it on their social media, and they don't expect to find it on yours. But that was a great question and a very good, and I think that's a tough answer. That's a tough question because it is very nuanced. Tyler asks, first he says, thank you so much for speaking to us, but then asks, what resource is most important when studying for the CPA exam?
Mm-hmm. Tyler, good question. And I think this might depend on what study mechanism or what works best for you. I know for me personally, what worked really well is I'm a very visual learner. And so the videos that Becker provided and the study that I could see in the flashcards was really helpful for me. Whereas if somebody else learned better in in-person classroom, I believe there are in-person classes as well. And so I think the study materials was really helpful for me based on how I learn. And so I would encourage you to think about how did you learn best at Susquehanna and what worked and what didn't work for you, and apply that.
That's good. We've got a ton, so I'm just going to keep going through quickly here. One note, if you'd mind unsharing the screen, that might be helpful. If they can see us a little bit more. I know there's ways to adjust it, but it's a little easier that way.
Great idea.
The next one, I think is a great question. I'm really curious to hear your answer by Megan, who I think might have been one of the three winners. Does going to graduate school matter if you already passed the CPA? Is it necessary?
Megan, this is something that I've been asking myself. And so I think it just depends on what you want to do, what your future end goal or one of your goals might be. If you need to learn something, getting your master's degree or your MBA is a really great way to learn that specific piece of knowledge or field. But it really depends on what you want to do and if that would be helpful. And so if I were going to go work for a company that required to have their MBA before you can get to a certain level, then I would need my MBA even though I had my CPA. And I've seen companies like that. But I've also seen companies, and I think my company is one of them, where not everybody at the senior leadership level has their MBA. Some have their CPAs, some have different degrees. And so it really does depend, and it depends on what you want to do with it. So I know that's not a straightforward answer, but it really just depends on what you'd like to do and what you're interested in.
That's a great answer. And this is a good time for me to remind especially our prospective students that I believe it's over 90% of our accounting graduates actually graduate with 150 credit hours, so they can take the CPA without going to graduate school, which I think the huge benefit of that is it does allow you to answer what I think is a very complicated and individualized question of, is graduate school right for me? And it very well might be, but you know, it's the kind of thing you might want to think through in 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years out. Is it an MBA? Is it a master's in whatever? Sorry, any chance I get to plug the program?
Absolutely.
Logan Frank asks, do you have any tips for creating diverse income streams other than earned income, such as like rental or capital gains, interest, etc.?
Logan, I love this question. I ask myself, my husband and I are talking about this one too. I recently heard a statistic that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. And so that is really interesting to me. And I think it depends. You can, the really great thing about the time that we live in is that so much is possible virtually, especially now with this global pandemic. This global pandemic is causing a lot of challenges for people, but one of the benefits of it is it's really teaching us how to live virtually, how to do business on, how to create streams of income. And so I think rental properties, that is something that I have thought really hard about. And my husband and I might think about that in the future. thinking about something that you're passionate about that solves a problem could also be something that you could really create an income stream for. And I think one of the biggest things that I think about is what problem exists out there that you can solve and that you can help people solve, and that people will come to you because they know, like, and trust you, and that they know that you're an expert in that area. And so just, it doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering, but if you can solve people's problems, many times they'll pay you to do that. And so I would think about what kind of problems can you solve?
The next question is by Dr. Oz, Mike Oslansky, class of 2005 from Susquehanna and assistant professor of accounting in the accounting department. If you had an opportunity to give advice to an accounting faculty member about innovating the college curriculum or the advising process, so you can pick either, or if you want to take a shot at both, go for it. Any advice for college faculty members, what would it be?
Dr. Oz, you are great. This is just one of the reasons why I just think that you're just so fantastic asking questions like this, truly. This is a really good one. And I don't know, I think hands-on experience is just, especially for me because I'm a visual learner and I learn from hands-on experiences, I think like a co-op experience or different types of internships or externships, or even people, you know, executing and completing an audit or a tax return or something while you're a senior, that experience would, I think would really help people learn exactly what exactly it is that what does that entail? Because I know that when I started my job in auditing, I had my class, but it took me a while to really figure it out and get in the details. And so I don't know if that's not an option, but I think something that would enable people to really get their hands into the details could be eye-opening, and people can learn a lot from that. Not that Susquehanna doesn't already do that in a number of different ways, but just something in case that's helpful.
That's really good. And I will say that I know one thing I know that we do too. No matter how good you are, you can always get better, right? Like it's continuous improvement. That's really good. That's good advice. The final question, as we're approaching the end of our hour, Mackenzie asks, how has your job changed since COVID-19 struck, or since March? Was it difficult for your job to move online?
So this is a great question, and we just talked about this at work today as well. It was, in the beginning, it was challenging because we had to create all sorts of contingency plans in case COVID got really bad at our company and affected a lot of people. And so, but we pivoted very quickly, and we had our leadership, their number one goal was making sure that everybody was safe. And I just respect that immensely. And they did a really great job of making sure people were safe, immediately sent people home to work, knowing that we'd figure it out, and we did, and the results have been tremendous. And so I work now full-time from home, and it has really given me a lot of flexibility because I can sleep in, I don't have a long commute. I'm actually working longer hours now because I haven't figured out why, but I don't think that there's more work, but I think I just log in, and I think I have the flexibility to kind of log in at 8. I don't have a commute or anything like that. I can put laundry in over lunch. I can get my workout in. And so I really enjoy it. And we've talked about how this will transform our work environment in the future. And I think by the time all of you graduate, it's going to be really cool to see how everything's changed because of the different opportunities that you'll be able to take advantage of, even if you don't live in the city where your potential job is. And so I actually work, before COVID-19, I worked probably 50% of the time with people who lived outside of Delaware. And so now, during this time, everybody's proven that they can work from anywhere. And it's you know, it is cool to see, and technology is great. Great question.
And wonderful answer. The final comment was by President Green, who just said, great job, Jamie didn't ask a question, but I think that is a perfect spot to end. Once again, and this is something like continuous improvement. Maybe we're going to need to figure out a way to have everybody like on the screen giving a round of applause next time. But until I figure that one out, just want to say thank you. And I know that everybody participating really enjoyed your talk and the lessons. As mentioned before, this is the first in a semester-long series. We actually have 3 next week. The first up, it's Todd Jawmiller on Monday night. Zach Goodwin on Wednesday afternoon, and Kristen Bush on Friday, I believe it is late morning, early afternoon. So thanks to everybody who attended. I hope you consider some future ones. Thank you again to Jamie and to everybody who participated. Have a wonderful night. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a true pleasure. Thank you. Good luck to everyone.